Hey guys, today we're together with
Helene,
sorry, who's a therapist and many other things together. But for me, what stands out more is, to be honest, therapy.
Okay.
Because at like my age right now, for me, it's very interesting to like explore more about therapy and how it can like impact you. But I want you to tell us your name, what you're doing, and then we're gonna go to the uni thing because that's very interesting.
So I'm a systemic therapist. I'm a leadership and authenticity coach. And I help people step into their most authentic version of themselves. And that can be through a range of things, through healing, through therapy work, through coaching.
Okay. And the University of Reading, you said you studied there.
Yes.
What did you study?
Real estate and finance.
Was that in Helene Business School?
That was in Helene Business School, yes.
Okay.
That's a good deal.
So then you must be pretty young. I mean, you're not that old.
No, I'm 36.
And what did you study again?
I studied real estate and finance.
And how did you go from real estate and finance to being a therapist?
That's a really long story. So when I went to study, I followed in the footsteps of the family business. And, you know, everyone's like, it's a great idea. You should do what your family does. It's a certain job. You're going to come back. You're going to be doing the same sort of thing. And with time, I realized while I was doing my degree, like in my first year, I called my dad up and I said, Dad, I don't want to do this anymore. He's like, well, you've started it. What are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what else I want to do. So I'm like, okay, he's just like, push through. And that's what I did. I pushed through. I finished it.
For 3 years. That's a really long time, by the way.
That is a really long time.
Yeah.
And that actually didn't just stop there. That went on for a couple of years until I found out what I wanted to be doing. So it's been quite a long journey for me to figure out what it is that I really love in the core of it and the essence of it, as opposed to just doing something. So I worked in the corporate field as well. I worked in real estate and finance.
In the UK?
In the UK, in London,
Okay.
in like central London. So like one of the top firms.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I was there, I thought I was going to die. I developed social anxiety.
Yeah.
I had symptoms on my body from it, like physical symptoms. And, you know, back then I had no idea that we can have psychosomatic responses to the things that we're not liking. You know, you just kind of push through, you think everything's okay. Stress is normal, you know, to everyone. It's not something that we had enough knowledge back then as we do today, 15 years ago. You know, and the older generation is very much like, just push on through. We did it that way. We didn't need therapy. We didn't need support. So that's sort of where my journey started, into self-exploration and finding out more about the human psyche, the human body, and understanding why I was going through what I was going through. Yeah. And that's when I started therapy for myself.
Okay.
And and over the years, I then moved to Saudi Arabia.
Damn, that's a big gap. UK and Saudi Arabia, okay.
So actually, before the UK, I moved to Italy for 3 years. So me and my husband, we got engaged.
Like when?
Like really young.
Like how young?
When he met me, about 6 months later. So I was 23.
Yeah, that's not that bad, to be honest.
He knew what he wanted, and so did I.
Okay,
so,
it's okay, yeah.
Yeah, our words aligned.
Okay.
So then we moved to Italy. He was going to do his doctorate. And I was still in the unknown. I had just finished my degree and I didn't know what I wanted to be doing. I had already worked in corporate, hated it. So I thought, well, I'll just go along and figure out what I want to do. 3 years go by. While I was in the UK at some point, I started a dog walking business.
Okay.
As a side job.
Okay, that's a popular thing though, I think, in general. In the
To
UK.
start a business?
Well, to start something off at least, you know.
Yeah. I remember my dad saying to me, I sent you to study real estate and you're picking up shit from the floor and you prefer that.
Many people do that though.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It was a humbling process.
Yeah.
And it taught me a lot. You know, I set up my first website. I did my own marketing. I was doing, passing leaflets in the road. It was absolutely amazing. We then moved to Italy. And after Italy, we moved to Saudi Arabia. And I have the idea that I'm probably might try real estate again. When I moved to Saudi, I realized that wasn't going to work. It was a very male-dominant society.
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah. So that was a very internal process for me where I really had to sit and look at the decisions that I had made throughout my life. And I spent a lot of time indoors because it's really hot in Saudi.
Yeah.
And even going out, you wear an abaya. Well, you used to, now you don't anymore.
Yeah.
You wear an abaya, so there's a lot of covering of your body. I didn't feel like I wanted to be out much. And I also used to be in volleyball for many years. So I played as a professional. So I had a good physique and I always loved the gym. And one of the ladies in the gym in Saudi comes up to me and said, "Could you please train me?" So I said, "Oh, okay, this is getting serious." And I started to train her. I used to fly back and forth to Dubai. I got a diploma as a personal trainer.
Okay.
And from there, I started to create these boot camps for women. So we would gather in communities of women, of like 20 women together, working out together, doing HIIT training, empowering one another. And I would see them walking in with such low self-esteem and confidence and self-worth and not knowing which direction they were taking in life, you know, what the meaning of life was. And then they would leave these boot camps like glowing and feeling incredible. After the 9 weeks, though, I would start to notice a crash again, okay? They would have amazing physiques, but it was never enough. Like there was always something missing. So that's when I recognized, okay, this is way deeper than just the physical.
Yeah.
We really need to go deeper into the internal world, into the inner world. Like what is the belief there that's holding them back? How do they speak to themselves? What's their view around how a woman should be? So I started to bring in all the work that I had been doing on myself in therapy and empowerment and self-worth into coaching. So I combined the physical together with the coaching.
Nice.
Yeah.
You said something before about social anxiety in the UK. I'll tell you this. I went to, when I was in London like a month ago, Sheffield, I think, is the biggest mall. Or not Sheffield.
In London?
Yeah, in London. Like
Shepherd's Bush. In Shepherd's Bush.
Another one. The biggest mall, like the biggest.
I can't remember.
I don't know. It's like, it's really big. It's humongous. And it's supposed to be the biggest mall in London that exists. There's like Tony and Guy outside. Anyway, it's really big and it's like maybe 30, 40 minutes away with traffic from the center of London.
Okay, it's not the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
No, I think that's the second one. We're supposed to go to that one, but someone else told that the other one is better.
Okay.
So when we went there, I felt fine. Like going there, I was okay. But when I entered and when I felt like, I don't know, maybe I needed like 30, 40 minutes, I couldn't. There's so many people. I felt literally, my mom went into Zara and I had to sit and I sat on the floor and I was like, give me like 5 minutes because I can't. There's so many people. And I never feel like that. I'm a very social person. But the amount of people that were there is like I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to me at that point. Yeah. But I sat on the floor, like on the floor in a shopping mall. And like I had to like hide my eyes and close them because I wasn't feeling well. Yeah. I was like, that's the first time that I felt social anxiety.
Yes.
And for me as a social person, it was very weird. I was like, oh, so I'm not that social. Or maybe I'm not social enough. I'm social enough for a place like Cyprus, but I'm not social enough for a place like the UK. Yeah. And now that I'm going to go into Reading, I'm even more concerned that I'm going to be hiding myself, you know?
Yeah.
Did you feel like that as well at some point?
I definitely resonate with when they're... So what you just described there is it's like it's an overstimulation of your senses. So that's when social anxiety can kick in. But it could be along the lines of agoraphobia, which is like when there's too many people.
Yeah.
the body gets overstimulated. So what you actually did by closing your eyes is a very good thing, because you take out one of the senses.
Yeah.
So sometimes you see people walking around with headphones
Yeah.
in big malls. It's a great way to take out the noise element and just focus on all the movement that's going on around. And we live in societies where we have so much overstimulation of everything.
Yeah.
So we go from stress to stress, from kids to work to phones, to more stress, to smoking, to drinking. So we don't actually have time to decompress.
Yeah.
And then when we're placed in places such as malls with so much stimulation, it just becomes an overload, over sensory stimulation. So deep breaths would be a good,
That's what I was trying to do.
thing to do.
I was also drinking coffee though at that same point.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I need to stop drinking this because it's making me feel worse. So I put the coffee away.
Yep.
And literally I was just sitting there.
Yeah.
But then I cried for some reason. I don't know. I was
That's
just
really
crying.
good that you cried, because what's happened right there, you were releasing energy. You were releasing energy. And if you kept that in you, actually that would be really unhealthy for your body. And that's where disease come into play, when we're holding on to this stored energy and we don't release it through either somatic movements, so exercising or dancing, or using the intelligence of the body, like meditation for me isn't just sitting and closing my eyes. It's actually dancing and then sitting and closing my eyes.
Okay.
So the somatic element is so important in order for us, as women especially, to come into our bodies and then to allow ourselves to feel more regulated and do a practice that is perhaps more calming.
Yeah. I have so many questions for you. Like
Shoot.
I'm going to ask first, this is very personal, but I'm going to ask this to your therapist.
Okay.
You probably know. Does makeup sex actually work?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Tried and tested.
Okay, but like for me, it's like, okay, Tipa, okay, you had a fight, and then what? Like, but the issue doesn't get solved just by having sex.
No, it doesn't, but there's a release of energy.
Okay.
So at least it's not as fiery. When you are having the conversation, there's like a softness to it, because the sexual act is a very intimate act. So therefore, you are showing and showing a part of yourself that is very vulnerable, right? Therefore, there's a softness that occurs in the heart and in the body. So the communication becomes better.
Yeah. Damn. Okay. I mean, I'm young. That's why I'm like, I'm just exploring those things. For me, it's like, Tipa, like I want to understand. She's not that young. She probably already understands those things. She's like 26. I'm 17. So
Are you 17?
Yeah.
I said, baby, then you
Stop. Stop. When do you think person needs therapy? Like, what's the like crucial parts to know that you need to go therapy? Because many people are embarrassed to go to
So
therapy.
the crucial part is before you think you need it.
Okay, so I'm in the crucial part. I need therapy.
If you're at the point where you are thinking about it, it means you really already need it. It's not something that you need to think about anymore. I think therapy is for everyone, and I think therapy is great for everyone to begin at some point in their life, because we have childhood trauma, we have ancestral trauma, we have trauma way before we even knew we had trauma. So from the moment that we were in the womb of our mothers, our DNA, our cells, we carry these cells of our mother and of generations before us. And in those cells, not only you carry their blood, but you also carry their trauma and their strengths. So therefore, this lives with us throughout our lives, and we have these patterns that can play out in our lives that we may carry burdens, PTSD, loyalties to our parents, to someone in the family. And this is exactly what I specialize on family constellations, which is looking at the connections and the dynamics within the family and within the ancestors. So how the ancestors can support you in this life, and how you can break those generational patterns and that trauma that has been passed down to you through the family that you've chosen to live to be born in. Yeah.
My parents are divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that children who have divorced parents have more trauma?
It's not, I wouldn't say, trauma is not something that you can compare, like this is more painful or this is less painful. Yeah. Definitely, though, the impact of a divorce on a child is immense. Because the ideal situation for any child is to have a happily ever after family and to have the parents together. So when the divorce takes place, when the separation takes place, there's a separation that takes place internally within a person, almost forcing someone to choose. Who do I pick? Mum or dad? Who do I love more? Mum or dad? Who am I more loyal to? Mum or dad? So that creates fragments of ourselves. And these are parts of ourselves that need reintegration. And reintegration happens through therapy.
Damn. Because I have divorced parents, as I told you before. And for me, like, I think that I have, like, trauma because of my dad, because he used to like never give a shit about me, like completely never give a shit about me. And now I'm at a stage where I'm like, since the war started in Ukraine, 2022, I had him here for like 6 months. I took care of him. He left and he completely forgot about me. And then he came back with his family here for 1 month for holidays, and he didn't see me, not even one day. He wouldn't even come one day to see me.
That must be very painful.
It was really gross. I felt grossed out. And the last day before he left, he brought me like 3,000 euro in cash in an envelope. And like he gave it to me with like the words that he said, like, I believe this is more important for you than like me. And he was pretty rich back at the time. Not now with the war, but he was pretty rich back then. And since then, I like decided that and I don't go so. No, I don't want any relationship. And now that I'm turning 18, I'm actually changing my surname to my dad's surname. And with the hope that I'm going to get the papers and the documents to ask my stepfather to adopt me, you know?
Okay. Yeah. So it's a very, very deep ingrained.
It is. And because of
process.
And because of that, I feel like, back to the conversation we had before, my choice of men is complete shit. Because
Absolutely.
of that. Because I'm running. Even though I have a stepdad who absolutely loves me and absolutely cares about me, I still feel like I'm running after more love and like after more people who are gonna confront and they're gonna say, like I love you, like, you know, like I value.
Yeah, you'll always be looking for a father figure.
That's crazy though, because I feel guilt towards my stepdad that like, you know, because I don't want him to feel like he doesn't give me the same amount of love that my father would have given me, even though he does. But I still have this like gap in my brain that's like running after validation of men. Yes. To like validate me as if like I'm important to them, you know?
So I suppose what would be good for you is for you to understand that love that you're looking for and the importance that you're looking for other people to give you is actually an internal process. So it's something that you are looking for from your father, which you cannot change people. Yeah. You can only change yourself, and you can change your perspective as to how you see situations and the people around you. So your father can only give you, from what you've described here, monetary value, right? When what you're craving for is love, is nurture, is care, is to feel safe. And within that context, any man that you are with is their role. But because of what your father has done, you are probably most likely to be choosing men that are going to be giving you as much as your father gave you.
Yeah, but that's
until
crazy.
You choose to heal that. So that's why therapy would be very important for you to look at and to look at these dynamics in order for you to be able to then make healthier choices for yourself and then attract the partner that is more stable and safe for you as a choice.
This is what my mom says, that I attract bad guys.
Do you?
Kind of, yeah. Because she knows, everyone knows that, like most of the guys that I like, this is the thing. So I attract bad guys, then I'm with those bad guys. And when I'm with those bad guys, I see the good guys. And for some reason, I back off from leaving the bad guy to the good guy, even though I know that the good guy is going to be better. And so then it's kind of like a dilemma. And then the bad guy leaves me.
Yeah,
and then the good guy doesn't want me anymore. You know?
So you are used to a specific kind of chaos. And we always make choices based on the familiarity of the environment that we grew up in. So if the most familiar thing to you that your brain and your body is saying to you, actually, this is the safe choice, but it's actually the bad guy because you are familiar in that setting, right? Then the good guy actually seems like more of a threat because you are unfamiliar within that safety, like that safety that a good guy can give you, a healthier man, an emotionally stable man, would make you feel like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Yeah. Something's not quite right here. Like, I'm not used to this kind of love. I'm not used to this kind of nurturing. I'm not used to this kind of stability. There must be something wrong with him. Yeah. But over here, you're like, I know this. I know this. I feel comfortable in this chaos.
No.
Yeah.
Does a therapist need therapy?
Of course.
Do you have your own therapist?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So it kind of goes like, it's like when people say, does a psychologist need a psychologist?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's always a dilemma. I never had an answer for this, but okay.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you have your own therapist.
Of course, yeah.
But I think the therapy sessions are a bit different because you're also a therapist, so it's...
Yeah, I suppose you have an understanding of your own inner psyche and the way that things work, so you can see the patterns, but maybe you need more support in breaking those patterns. And a lot of the times we think we have the answers, you know, how we place scenarios in our heads and how we speak to ourselves. And then when you speak it out loud, someone says, wait, you just said a phrase right there. Can you say that again? And then you become aware of the unconscious belief that is running the show, which you were not able to see before. So a therapist reflects back to you what you are actually missing, which a friend can't do. Yeah. Most times, right? So it's important for a therapist to also have a therapist, yes.
Is it hard being a therapist?
It's a hard job. Yes, it is. I think it takes a lot of emotional, not only maturity, stability, and it's also it's draining. So the amount of people that you can see per day or how you run your sessions is limited. Yeah. And I say that, I mean, I know most therapists in Cyprus, they'll have like 8 sessions per day. They'll charge something ridiculous like 50, 60 euros, which is, you know, way below average. Like in the States, they'll say things like, you know, 100 euros. You can't find a therapist for 100 euros. I mean, that's ridiculous because what happens in therapy is that you are coming and this is how I describe it, there is a vomiting of your emotional world onto me, which I then need to go to my therapist and vomit onto them. Right? So there's this offloading that takes place. Yeah. And in that's a very big burden for the physical, for the emotional and the spiritual body of any human being. So you get to learn how to navigate these dynamics throughout therapy, and you build your resilience. Wow. So it is a tough.
So job. A therapist goes to a therapist, goes to a therapist, goes to a therapist, and it just goes a 360 loop. Yeah. Damn. Wow. So how many sessions do you do per day?
I try and keep it to 2 or 3 max.
Okay. 1 hour.
Yes.
Okay. And how many clients do you have?
In general?
Yeah, like approximate.
About 50.
And do you get from your socials or?
From socials, from referrals. I'm also a holographic sound healer. Okay. So I do sound healing. Yeah. And I host retreats as well. Mm-hmm. Wellness and mindfulness retreats. Mm-hmm. And so with all of these different things, I also do family constellations that I mentioned before, which family constellations is like group therapy. Yeah. So there's a group of us and we explore these dynamics between family members.
Damn. Wow. Are most of your clients Cypriot or no? Because I don't feel like Cypriots do therapy, to be honest. Like,
you'd be surprised. I think because I am Cypriots feel more comfortable to come to me.
To come to you.
But I work with mainly foreigners. Okay. I think I would get 50-50.
So you work online more than
I work
offline?
Online, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, most of my clients are online.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the most, let's say, craziest situation that you had in therapy that you couldn't even handle it yourself, for example? Like you didn't know what to do as a therapist. I mean, if I come to you, let's say, and I tell you I want to kill myself, what are you going to do about it?
Oh, I'd refer you to someone else.
Okay.
Actually, we look at the possibilities of, if that is actually true. It's not just... sometimes we say things but we don't necessarily mean them.
Yeah.
So it's really
that was me today and yesterday.
Yeah.
I wanted to kill myself. I clearly wanted to kill myself.
No, there's different levels of that.
Yeah, I didn't really want to kill myself, but I felt like I was... There we go. I felt like I was overwhelmed. Like I was like, not here. I was like, here.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, sometimes life feels like it's too much. It's overwhelming. And one of the things that I have a course that I have online that we go into somatic practices and learning how to regulate the nervous system. Because with the overload of information and stimulation that we have, we become... There's just too much for the body to be able to handle. So there are tools and techniques and practices that you can implement. And these are tools and techniques and practices that you implement on a daily basis in order to allow your system from reaching a certain level that is full into capacity to be able to bring down and regulate yourself.
Which is hard to do it every day, though, because it has to become like a routine thing. I think.
It is, but it's not as hard as you think.
Okay.
Because I think we have this idea that we need a very big amount of time. We need 30 or 40 minutes in order to be able to do that. Sometimes it's just a 5-minute practice that then adds on every time. Every time you do a 5-minute practice, you look back after a month and you think, wow, I'm actually a calmer person. Yeah. And could it be those 5 minutes? And the answer is yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many therapy sessions do you think like someone needs to like heal, let's say, a divorcement situation?
That's something I can't answer. Because I think it depends on the person. It depends how deep the work needs to go, what aspects. But therapy is one of those things. It's a little bit like exercise, where just because you've reached the body that you want doesn't mean you stop it, because then you'll just go back down again. So it's important to start therapy and to continue therapy.
Okay. Do you have kids?
Yes, too.
Do they understand what you're doing? Like, do you practice with them some therapy?
My kids are 4 and 7.
Okay, but so the 7-year-old is gonna go into like the teen age,
soon.
So therapy is probably a thing.
So what I'm teaching her is to have...
Oh, she's a girl, so...
Yes.
Okay.
To have the understanding of her own emotional world, which is very important because we haven't been taught the difference between certain emotions. We think that anger is frustration. We think that happiness is joy. We think that there's a confusion within society, within all of the emotions. So having a clear understanding, what am I feeling in this moment? And how can I have the understanding of what it is I'm experiencing? So why am I feeling frustrated? What's caused it? Why do I feel angry? Why am I exploding and having a tantrum, right? So I help my kids to have emotional awareness, emotional intelligence, in order for them to have a better understanding of their internal world and to not project that onto the outside world. So I think that's how someone at 7 years old can start implementing a lot of the practices that I would use on clients of mine that are 25, 26, 35.
Damn. Okay. But do you think that like during the teenage years, the peak, I would say for me was like 13 to maybe 16. I was like my worst years. Like I was a bad kid. Really bad kid.
I wouldn't say bad. I wouldn't say,
I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I was very like confused. I don't know if like Joanna maybe can remember herself at that age. I don't know how she was back then, but I was going crazy. I mean, like, I was doing
your
things
hormones are going crazy at that point.
Yeah, but they are now as well. Like, trust me, like, now they're going as well, too. And now, like, I have, like, passion for different things, So now I'm more passionate about other things that I was passionate about when I was 16, 15, and 14, So do you think like if a teenager goes into therapy from like their like most like difficult ages, that's gonna help them balance out and not go into like drugs and all those things?
I think someone who, a teenager who has the emotional awareness to understand themselves is going to be much better off than a teenager who doesn't.
Yeah,
yes.
that's true fact.
Yeah.
What are your plans for the future? Are you gonna write a book?
Oh, definitely.
I knew it. I was gonna. I was like, I'm gonna ask her, and I knew she was gonna say yes to writing a book. So you're gonna write a book.
I'm gonna write a book. I'm planning on being a public speaker as well.
Okay.
So
You're a speaker on TED Talk.
I was not on TED Talk, but
Forbes. Sorry, Forbes.
Yes.
Forbes. That's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's
so there was
wild.
an article in Forbes. I would like to do a TEDx talk and loads of talks. I love being on stage. So even when I was a kid, the one thing that I used to love doing was singing. So I used to sing, stand on stages and sing. And I foresee that in the future as well.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
Damn, I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. It was very last minute. It was very last minute. I might actually do therapy sessions with you.
I'd love to have you.
If you have time, like,
Yes, yeah.
I would love to like be your client.
Thanks
Guys,
so much
anyone
for
who
having
wants
me.
therapy, online, offline in Cyprus, Helene.
Helene.
Helene is a person to go to. Very lovely lady. Thanks so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thanks.